Hello! Welcome to yet another episode of Witches and Wine, where we talk about witchy stuff and we drink wine. Cheers. So tonight, before we welcome our special guest, our wine connoisseur, Silenus Stardust, is going to talk about the wine we're drinking tonight. Go ahead.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Tonight, we're drinking Apothic Crush, California Red Blend. It's got some big red fruit, some caramel and chocolate flavors. And it was chosen tonight because tonight's guest is going to be talking about the concepts of love and the goddess of love. And we consider her the Aphrodite of our coven. So, without further ado, here's Aria.
Oh, he's like a little regular Ed McMahon.
Ooh, hello.
Hi. Oh. I love her. Oh, yeah. She'll grab the book in a minute.
Okay.
All right. So, this is our coven sister, Aria. Welcome to the show. I'm so glad you made it. I'm so glad you made it. And we're drinking the wine that she loves, or one of the wines she loves. Of course, I added a little champagne to mine, so I might be getting a whole different experience.
It's all about the crush. It's all about the crush.
All right, so we want to talk about, and I'm actually really glad we're going to do this because, you know, a lot of us talk about the things we know or we are interested in the craft, but tonight we're going to talk about someone's path and what led them to the craft. And you have a very interesting story. And I would love for you to share that with us. So when your first exposure to religion as a child was Mormon, being a Mormon.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about how that was?
So I grew up in a very strict Mormon household. It was a family from Salt Lake Mormons. And
Salt Lake Mormons.
And my dad was a high priest and always directed the choir.
Oh, wow. And he was a musical man.
Yeah.
She's musical.
Classical
she sings really
musician.
good. Yeah.
And, yes, I mean, Mom taught Sunday school.
Mm-hmm.
We were all in. We were at church all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. But I started to notice pretty early on that things were not as they seemed.
And you were talking earlier about the whole concept of original sin when you really first became aware of that. That kind of was your turning point of like, this is kind of...
That was a big thing. But even earlier than that, I remember we were coming home from church and I was like 7, 8 years old.
Yeah.
And one of our babysitters had gotten pregnant.
Uh-oh.
And so this was a friend of the family. They loved this girl.
Yeah. How old was she?
I bet she was like 16.
Oh my goodness. That must have really, not sat well.
So I'm sitting in the back seat of the car and I'm listening to them talk really hatefully about, oh, she did it. She had sex. She had sex. And I was so confused because I thought...
I'm not flipping off Aria. I'm flipping off my coven members over there because you guys are talking about us. Oh.
It doesn't about either one of you.
Sorry. I'm not flipping off Aria while she's talking. Screw your story. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I love you anyway.
I know you do. So, all right. So they were talking crap about the pregnant babysitter.
Crap about the pregnant babysitter. And I was confused because as far as I knew, if you really, really wanted a baby, you could just pray for a baby and God would give you one. And then you go to the hospital and pick it up.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
So you had like no sex ed?
No. Oh my gosh, not. So I was confused at why they were so hateful. And that was like probably the first time that I was really...
And you were 9?
7.
7? Oh, wow.
6. I was little.
Yeah.
But that was that first inkling that things were wrong.
Not as they seem.
Not as they seem.
So... You obviously had a very curious mind, and you came across, we're going to jump forward a little bit, and you came across a wonderful book that influenced your path. And,
okay.
Go ahead, hon. Our child is, oh, hey, honey, take these fries from your mother, because she'll eat too much of them. There you go. That's how you diet in this house. Give all the goodies to the kids.
That works.
So, you came across a wonderful book that, if you have been a witch in a cave and don't know this book, I'd be really surprised. But you never know. There might be new witches, or who knows?
Possibly.
It could happen. But there is Drawing Down the Moon.
Drawing Down the Moon from Margot Adler.
You want to show it to the...
Drawing Down the Moon.
Drawing Down the Moon.
Yes.
Yep.
So, I don't remember how I got this book. It was probably a library. I was about, 21, and I was, well, to get away from my father, I married the first
person that you saw that you could get out of the...
Yes, I was 18 and still in high school. It was really stupid. Don't ever do it.
Cautionary tale.
Cautionary
To the
tale.
teenagers.
Yeah. It's like the
But not the
worst
teen
thing.
Mormons,
That's
because
the
I don't
worst thing you
think
could
I don't
do.
think any teen Mormons would be watching it, but they might be.
Oh,
If you're a teen
yeah,
Mormon and you're
they
watching
might
this
be.
witchy stuff,
Please reach out to us.
There's better
Please.
things to do
Yeah.
than marry your first boyfriend.
All
So,
right. But you have two beautiful sons from
I do.
them, so it all happens for a reason.
We should have a different father, but yeah. Right?
So we're digressing anyway. So
Anyway, Drawing Down the Moon, and I was just thoroughly amazed that other people felt the same way I did.
and for those of you who aren't familiar with Drawing Down the Moon, it's by Margaret Adler, and she did NPR, and she worked at
Associated Press. She was a
Associated Press.
journalist for the Associated Press.
Yeah, and it was kind of approached more in a almost like a sociological study
Yes.
of these, and it was what, I think it was
Neo-paganism.
Neo-paganism in like
in
the
the
late
70s.
70s, yeah, and it was one of the first books that opened that up about the earth-based religions.
Open
and
the discussion.
Yes, and so it is a very important book, and I highly suggest it to those who are seeking, new at seeking in the craft. Read it. It's a beautiful book. So can you talk about, and this is kind of like a book club. We should do a book club
We should.
hour
Absolutely. We
too.
could start with the witching hour from Anne Rice.
Oh my God, yes, which we're propping the camera up on because we're high tech here at the Coven Stead.
Instead.
And I've got this hair bun going. Okay. Anyways, I meant to do that. So, yeah. Anyway, so can you talk to us about some of your favorite parts, or what really spoke to you in the
Yes,
book?
Absolutely. So, the very beginning of the second chapter is just a little anecdote about, oh gosh, it was like Christmas Eve, and this woman finishes midnight mass, and everybody's getting ready to say goodbye, and there's hymns, it's beautiful, there's carols, there's lights, and she goes outside. She feels like she's being called outside. So she's just kind of sitting on a hillside, and there's the church, and she's hearing this music, and she just feels a presence. And it's a full moon, and the stars are out, and she realizes that what is sacred and what's calling to her is outside.
Yes. It was nature. It was the moon. It was
Right.
all those
Right.
things. And it's
And
beautiful.
I wish I could see, because it just says, it's a very sweet thing. She said, here.
Oh, there we go.
Okay, I have to, this is really cute, or sweet.
Please do.
I have to do this.
Yes.
So, it just says, I can't describe it any closer than that, but I felt this presence, this being, was looking down on me, on this church and these people, saying, those poor little ones, they mean so well, and they understand so little. So it's like,
That hit you.
oh,
And isn't it amazing
Okay.
how just a small little section of something can just make all of the difference in our whole life, and this changed you, didn't it?
it totally changed me, because
Yeah.
I suddenly understood that I wasn't the only one feeling out of place and feeling like people were lying to me, and
Isn't that great? When you find home. Yeah.
finding home.
Yeah.
But I always felt that I think it's inherent you know, people want to know where they're going and where they came from and why we're here, and that was such a big deal for me, and I never got answers. I got bullshit answers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I got
You got the
men-based bullshit answers.
Patriarchal lip service.
Totally did.
And
growing up in the country. I mean, I mean the August nights in the country with the full moon and the stars. It's just like, you know that you're a part of a bigger
thing. Yeah.
Bigger thing.
And that is, I mean, I think that's just finding our spirituality and finding that it shows us that we are all connected, and there is this, we're kind of small on this, and like little tiny little pinpricks on the
we're dust
map of the universe. But at the same time, with that huge feeling of like, oh my God, there's so much out there, there's also this almost intimacy and comfort in knowing that, because it does make you realize that we're all connected and you have everything you need to fulfill your spiritual, fill up that spiritual gas tank by just walking outside and looking at the moon, and that's beautiful. And I think this book does a really good job at that. And it doesn't surprise me that it was the book that changed you. I don't think you're the first, and you won't be the last.
I hope not. That's one of my favorites.
So can you tell me about your relationship with Aphrodite? How, what first of all, talk about what happened where somebody pointed out, and it was our high priestess at the time, pointed out that you're so very Aphrodite. Can you tell us that story?
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's a little embarrassing.
It's not embarrassing.
Now that I know.
Now that I know better.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's taken me all of these years. About 5 years ago, I really started trying to find people that thought like I did.
Yeah.
Which led me to People of the Woods website.
Yep.
Which, and I emailed them and met with them, and they did a home visit. So Maeve and Graybeard did a home visit.
Yeah.
We had dinner, and we're talking, and Maeve's question was, what goddess do you
relate to or identify?
I mean, identify with. What are you thinking? And, you know, I didn't know what I didn't know.
Yeah.
I knew nothing. Nothing. It's just I knew what I felt in my heart.
Yep.
That's all. So I was just like, well, I mean, I didn't know about Diana, so I'd been praying to Diana for a while.
Yeah.
Right. And she goes, well, you know, I have mirrors all over my house.
If you see her home, it's so Aphrodite. It's beautiful.
Never thought about it. I mean,
And she said, you're very Aphrodite.
You're very Aphrodite-like. So I have mirrors all over my house, and I've planted thousands of rose bushes that usually don't survive, but I try.
Yeah.
And
you have pictures of roses in your home.
Yeah, all of
everything is roses and mirrors.
Everything is roses and mirrors.
And candles.
And candles. And
yes.
I had no idea.
Yeah. And it's very Aphrodite.
So she says, well, it's very Aphrodite. I think that might be your goddess. And and my response was, well, she didn't do anything. I want a goddess that did something.
Aphrodite just said, oh, girlfriend.
Oh my.
I've been with you.
We got some work to do on you.
What is it that you got some splaining to do?
Because Aphrodite.
What is it? I have been with you. I have been with you from the beginning, and I am that which is attained at the end of desire. Yep. Absolutely.
So, so I've had some penance. But
she doesn't want penance. She just wants you to honor her and love. And so you're like, can you turn that down a little? It's the speaker. It's the speaker over there. There's a knob on the.
Aphrodite is honored at my home now.
Yes, she
every
is.
Every day.
Yes, and can you talk about those reflections that you had of your past where you're like, Aphrodite was there? I mean, you don't need to get into too much detail, but
totally. Like every single, I was such a strong misplaced little girl. I mean, I was such a I would get very indignant when they would tell me at church that women were, when they talk about original sin, mortified. The first time I understood what original sin was, I thought it was a joke. I thought, who would place that blame on women?
Yeah.
What a ridiculous thing to think. And I think my indignation about always being, especially being a Mormon girl, because, you know, you're a handmaiden of God. And you are a servant of the head of the household. And you are owned by the men in your family.
Yeah.
And original sin gave that platform for us to be owned and demeaned. And so, but I think my indignation and my anger over all of it, so young, was Aphrodite going, no, that is not what needs to happen.
And people who work with Aphrodite will tell you that, you know, if you're just on the surface looking at her, because Aphrodite is one of the hardest goddesses to work with. And you wouldn't think so if you just looked at the surface, because you can easily say, oh, this is fun, love and sex and jewels and feeling. Oh my God, that is so hard, especially for women. Yeah. To feel. Well, no, you know what? I shouldn't say that. There's men and women that feel that way. It's
constant, which is what makes it hardest. There is no letdown, because when you start to not feel that, then she leaves you and you miss her presence. Yeah. And I always say that Aphrodite, when you invite her into your home or into your life, I always call her the gay decorator, because she comes right in and says, and we're going to put jewels here, and we're going to put red curtains, and we're going to move this around, and we're going to do this, and oh honey, are you wearing that? No, you're not wearing that. It's like
the flowers on the wall.
Yes. And so she just, once you welcome her, she comes in and you're a little overwhelmed. You're like, oh my gosh, Aphrodite, can we do baby steps? There is no baby steps with Aphrodite, because she wants you to feel the way she does. Yes, and but she's given me my strength. She really has, and I think that, you know, I had 3 boys because boys love their mamas. Yes, they do. And you know, I fronted rock bands for years as a diva, and she was there. She was there, absolutely. Like when I think about it, like every decision I've made. And my home, and who you've chosen to be with. Who I have chosen to be with. Yes, it's Aphrodite. It's all very Aphrodite-ish. Now, and she will tell you, there is wonderful gifts you can receive, but there are also the most hardest lessons that you will ever learn in your life. That's why I'm a big fan of, I'm a follower of Hecate, but I see Aphrodite on the other side of Hecate. I really do. I don't know. They work together. I know they do. They keep some balance in me as a woman. So I see the opposites that they bring into a woman's life. And so I have worked with Aphrodite, and I remember, I want to share this story, and I don't know if you remember this story, but Aria took me to my very first festival, pagan festival, anything that I ever experienced about 5 years ago, was Hecate Sickle, put on by the ATC. And I was so overwhelmed and completely like, I couldn't even really tell you what happened. I know that there was a lot going on with us because we were running your booth for the first time as a vendor, so there was that stress and whatnot. But as far as the experiences, there was so much that happened within a 4-day period that just spoke so much to us. And we were walking from one of the shrine scenes or the shrine area, and you were talking about how you're Aphrodite, you're like, Aphrodite. And I was like, and this was when I was first really exposed to Hecate. I've been exposed to Hecate, like we always say, I just didn't know it was Hecate. But when I met her through the Hecate sickle, I went, I know this person. I know this goddess. But I was telling Aria as we were walking, I was like, well, I just can't relate to Aphrodite. I just can't relate to her. I don't understand that whole goddess of love crap, and that's exactly what I said. And at the end of the festival, we were talking to our high priestess at the time, and the high priestess looked at me as I'm wearing flowers in my hair and my red lipstick, and I probably had a long skirt on and some eye makeup, and I'm going, I just don't get Aphrodite. And our high priestess looks at me and goes, really? Like why do you feel that way? And we started talking about it, and I realized I felt like I didn't deserve Aphrodite, which means I felt like I didn't deserve that kind of love and that kind of confidence. And so that was a huge step for me. And that's when I immediately said, I need to work with Aphrodite. I'm gonna work with Hecate, but I need to work with Aphrodite too.
To accept it and embrace it.
Yes.
And believe that it's all okay.
Yes.
Every act of love and pleasure.
Yeah, all acts of love and pleasure. I mean, yes.
All of them.
And it's
so true.
And if you could really feel that way, it's such a beautiful feeling. And Aphrodite, that's all she wants for her children. She just wants us to feel that love and pleasure. And she gets us in trouble.
Lots of trouble.
Because as far as, a lot of gods and goddesses in my life, Dionysus has been a very big influence in my life for 20, 30 years. For a very long time. Hecate has been with me for a very long time. And I look back at all those terrible relationships and all those decisions you make based on love, but it was Aphrodite, and she taught me so much about myself. Yeah. So I thank you. Is there anything else you want to talk about before we go, or before we have anyone talk about their experiences or questions? Or
it left me. There was, but it left me.
Well, that's
no, because it just came about recently.
Yeah, it's good. So good. We have our tiny studio audience. I like to call it studio audience. It's guests in my home. Do you guys have any observations or things you want to talk about Aphrodite? I know you do. Because you and I have talked about.
I know.
You feeling the same way that I used to feel, not deserving Aphrodite. Have you been working on that?
I have. And I
Okay.
do notice I like wearing floral, flowing clothes, and I thought about if I was decorating my home, if I was by myself,
yes,
it would be very
Aphrodite? Because you do. You have a lot of Aphrodite in you.
Yep.
We all do. We just
don't notice it in
Yeah.
ourselves.
Yeah.
See, I look at it from the guy's perspective, where I see all the beauty in the three of you and the other women around us.
Yeah.
And
You see the Aphrodite.
I see the Aphrodite in every one of you. And it's hard for you guys to see it because society puts these pressures on you of what you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
And each of us and each of you are beautiful in each and every one of our ways.
Yeah.
There's something that is outstanding amongst every single one of us, whether it's our eyes, a physical feature, and a demeanor, something. There is something that is defining that Aphrodite shines out through us.
This is why I'm married to this guy. This guy over here. This guy. So
I think it's easy to spot Aphrodite in others,
but not ourselves.
but not ourselves.
And can you grab that, Aurora? I want to show off my Aphrodite statue because I think she's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life.
I want one.
And this won't do justice, but look at her, like.
And you gotta show the butt.
And then the butt sticks out, and my boys point out her beautiful butt. They
gotta have the butt.
She's got a beautiful butt, and she is. Just look at her, and this doesn't do justice. But she's so beautiful, and when I look at this,
she's not afraid of her femininity.
God no, and she
embraces it and flaunts it.
Yes.
It's just
And I think as women, a lot of times we've been told not
to do that. And
that will get you in trouble.
Christian sin.
That's the original sin shit coming up.
Yes.
That's the Christian guilt.
To keep us down.
Yes.
Yes.
We're taught not to appreciate our beauty and our sexuality and to suppress it when you should be exploring it and enjoying it.
Yeah. She's so pretty.
It's not just for procreation, folks.
So,
no, it's for pleasure. So you remembered what you were going to say.
I did
go
remember.
ahead.
So my conversations with Aphrodite, especially when I'm a little stressed, wondering about my my love life, and I get these epiphanies. I like every 5-10 years I'll have, just something really spectacular happen, and I get an idea which answers all of my questions. So Aphrodite told me, and she told me. It might sound like a nutcase, but she told me.
No. We're all mad here.
That, when we talk about love as I love something, it's an adjective or a verb. And, we use it as a descriptive term. We use it, I love that, or I love my kids.
Yeah.
But love is really us. It's like the divinity that we have in ourselves. That is what love is.
Yes.
And
Wow.
that's
so beautiful.
I mean, it just gives a whole new perspective to the value of your soul. It's just like, okay, you have this soul, but you know what? The light in your soul, your divinity that's what love is.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So,
we are love.
We are love.
We are love.
God's not love.
We are love.
Food's not love.
Alcohol's not love.
We are love.
Sometimes wine is love.
No, we love wine.
We love wine, but wine
is not love.
We are love.
We are love.
Oh, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Oh,
it made me very happy.
I love you so much.
I love you more.
And I love you guys, and I love the audience, and thank you so much for joining us for this wonderful conversation about Aphrodite, and thank you for sharing your personal journey. I know that sometimes that's hard to talk about, but
I
didn't
didn't cry too much.
You're good though. You're
Yeah, I
good,
did
and
good.
even if you cried, it's okay.
I did
It's
good.
okay. There are tears in baseball.
There's no crying in baseball. Killing me, Smalls.
I am.
Two
All
different
right.
baseball movies, excellent references.
Well, thank you so much. And if you want to be a guest on our show, Witches and Wine, please email us at crossroadscoven. That's crossroadscoven@gmail.com. And we will, I promise, have a website coming up soon where we will have all that information, and we will have our talents that we can offer as a coven. We've just been working on it, and it takes time, but when it's ready to go, it's meant to be, and it'll happen. So thank you for joining us, and remember to walk with the goddess and be kind to one another. And until next time, blessed be.
Blessed be.
Bye.
Blessed be.